I rise in support of the Feinstein Amendment with regard to Section 1031 of this legislation. I'm particularly worried because, unlike the authorized use of force original doctrine and legislation passed by the Congress, we limited the authority of the President and the U.S. military to those connected directly to the September 11th mass murder of Americans. And I think in times of emergency, I understand that. But the legislation would be the first congressional authorization to go far beyond that, to say that any person who substantially supported al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces, undefined, including any person who committed a belligerent act, would be allowed to be picked up by U.S. military authorities and held in U.S. military detention. And while I am in favor of robust and flexible U.S. military action overseas, including action against American citizens waging war against the United States, like Anwar al-Awlaki, I think that we all should agree on a special zone of protection inside the jurisdiction of the United States on behalf of U.S. citizens. Now, I say this in support of the Feinstein Amendment because I took the time, as we all should from time to time serving in this body, to reread the Constitution of the United States yesterday. And the Constitution says, quite clearly, in the trial of all crimes, no exception, there shall be a jury, and the trial shall be held in the state where said crimes to have been committed. Clearly, the Founding Fathers were talking about a civilian court of which the U.S. person is brought before in its jurisdiction. They talk about treason against the United States, including war in the United States. And the Constitution says it shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving aid and comfort. The following sentence is instructive. No person, it says, shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses the same overt act or in confession in open court. And I would say pretty clearly that open court is likely to be civilian court. Further, the Constitution goes on that when a person is charged with treason, a felony or other crime, that person shall be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime, once again contemplating civilian state court and not the United States military. As everyone knows, we amended the Constitution many times, and the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution is instructive here. It says the rights of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, effects against unreasonable searches and seizures, including, by the way, the seizure of the person, shall not be violated. And no warrants shall issue except upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing place to be searched and persons or things to be seized. Now, in Section 1031b2, I do not see the requirement for a civilian judge to issue a warrant. And so it appears that this legislation directly violates the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution with regard to those rights which are inalienable according to the Declaration of Independence and should be inviolate as your birthright as an American citizen. Recall the Fifth Amendment, which says no person, by the way, remember, no person, there's not an exception here, no person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless upon presentment and indictment, oh, hear the words, grand jury, except the cases arising of the land or naval forces or militia when in actual service in time of war, meaning that there is a separate jurisdiction for U.S. citizens who are in the uniformed service of the United States. But unless you are in the service of the United States, you are one of those no persons who shall be answerable for a capital or infamous crime except on indictment of a grand jury. The Sixth Amendment says that in all criminal prosecutions, not some, not by exception, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. I go on to these because I regard all of these rights as inherent to U.S. citizens, granted to them by their birth in the United States. And if we go on to the Constitution and its amendments, we find in the 14th Amendment It says that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States.